Hi readers, welcome back to my channel, Lyla Wanders and Reads. Lee here, and welcome back to my weekend books. This is the first week of December, and I have to tell you, I think even though that some of what I say, maybe a lot of what I say is going to be negative, I think December is starting off better than October or November did. So, there's that. At least I feel better about my reading, even if I don't necessarily love what I'm reading. But let's get started. I started out the week with a highly anticipated book, Chloe Cates is Missing by Mandy McHugh. And I think I was still coming off my just bad taste for everything, being unable to settle, being scattered, and maybe I'm just making some bad choices. But anyway, overall, I enjoyed this book. A couple things to say about it. First of all, I tried to finish this late at night, so I was really tired and sleepy, so I think the ending would have been a little bit more moving had I just saved it for the next day. Second of all, this has one of the best murder scenes in it that I've read in a long while. I really loved that scene. But if I had a complaint, and oh, you know I do, I have to say that there's one thing in here that I really didn't like, and it was, I guess, platitudes. So, this happens, of course, now I've got them all tabbed, but now I won't be able to find it. Okay, this happens more than one occasion, and I only tabbed 2 occasions where it happens, but it happens a lot more than that. So, he's talking about the young boy who is Chloe's brother. He's like 15 or 17, I don't know. He's young. He's a teenager. He's talking about koi fish and how you're not supposed to feed them, but everybody does. And he's talking to the detective, and then he says, they can't learn how to survive when they've been spoon-fed garbage their whole lives. Okay, I mean, that's a little in your face, and it's a little astute for a 15-year-old kid. So, there was another one. I don't know if they're called platitudes. I don't know what they are. But you'll get the picture. Perspective is what matters. The detail that gives hindsight its shimmery appeal. I get it. We all want to do that. We all want to make these profound statements, but it pulls you out of the story, and it really... Unfortunately, we're not as profound as we think we are. Anywho, overall, I enjoyed this. Chloe Cates is missing, and you're not sure what happens to her, but there was a twist at the end that I did like a lot. This was recommended to me by Mother Horror for a list for Patreon. I think Mandy McHugh's got another book out there. If I stumble across it in the wild, I'll read it. If not, I won't. Okay, next up, I had what I thought was going to be a 3.5 or 4-star book, and that is Done and Dusted by Lyla Sage. Now, 2 things. I'm going to address 2 books at once. Done and Dusted was my second book of the week. I am also still listening to The Skystone by Jack Whyte. I'll talk a little bit more about this in a second. But for most of Done and Dusted, this is a brother's best friend romance. And for most of this, it felt like a cardigan. Like I wanted to put it on and just get up on the couch underneath the blanket and read. And it felt so comfortable for most of it. One reviewer complained that the main male character, I've already forgotten his name, Luke, calls her sugar all the time. And he does, especially at the end. It's like, what'd you forget her name? But I'm willing to let that slide. Because in the Skystone, his word of the day is whoreson. W-H-O-R-E-S-O-N, as in whore's son. So everybody in this book calls everybody else a whoreson, even if they're referring to him in passing. Whoreson, sugar, come on guys, we get stuck on a word and then we just can't let it go. I mean, once or twice is fine, we get the picture. So anyway, I can let sugar slide. But so at the very end, when Emmy is hiding her romance with Luke from her family, finally something happens, and in front of her whole family, she runs up to Luke and kisses him because she's tired of hiding now. Her brother runs up and punches the guy that Emmy kisses. And that's where I tapped out on this book. I didn't tap out. I got mad. I kept on and I finished it. But so anyway, blah blah blah. Gus goes and apologizes to the guy. But you know, that's my first instinct when I see someone kissing my sister. Okay, I'm gonna say it right here. If your first instinct when you see your sister voluntarily kissing someone is anger and violence, you have a problem. You need some anger management therapy, and you are the problem. You're not being protective, you're being abusive. And it's not cute, it's not noble, and everybody just, oh, that's just Gus, fuck Gus. Fuck Gus. I said what I said. So, book 2 is not about Gus, but book 3 is about Gus. The more and more I think about that and how they just normalize Gus punching some guy because he's kissing his sister. Luke didn't grab Emmy and force himself upon her. Emmy ran to him and kissed him. So Gus has a problem. So I don't know. I'm probably going to finish this series, but I don't know. Gus can't redeem himself to me. Luke is fine. Emmy's fine. I just really hate how we as women normalize that, and writing about that and not have anyone calling Gus out on his bullshit normalizes that kind of behavior. She's not his property. Even if she was your daughter, you don't have a right to do that. And it's not okay. And if you think it is, I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I don't think it is, and I'm not going to be quiet about it. Anyway, I'll probably finish the series. Just not right now, because as mad as this made me, the rest of it I really liked. But there's some more that we'll talk about that has led me to realize I need to step away from romance for a while, because I just don't like how women are writing themselves lately. Anywho, okay. That's done and dusted. Done. Alright, so, like I said, I've been listening to the Skystone by Jack Whyte. I started this, I don't remember when I started this. It's been a minute because it's like 30 hours long and I've got 3 hours left. I thought I was going to finish it today, but I don't think I will. So I have read this series before, all but the last 2 books. It's been damn near 30 years. This Skystone was published in 1996. This is called the Camelot Chronicles. It is about Arthur, but this book is like at the very end of the Roman era. So before the Arthurian age, it's in the decline of Rome, and they start talking about the decline of Rome right about where I am in the book right now. I have my issues with this. I noticed that when I read it before, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you when it was published. It was published in 1996, copyright 1996. So I read it in the late 90s. And everything I had underlined from then is about the army, which makes sense because I was just leaving the army or just getting in the army when I read this, or in the army, whatever. Talked about how relaxation and regulations and just all about army stuff and how we aren't disciplined enough or some kind of crap like that. Soldiers of Rome have no loyalty to Rome. It's interesting to see what's different now in my mindset versus when I was very young. And I am getting less out of this listening to it than reading, but I don't want to do a whole reread of the series. I just want to kind of get caught up so I can finish out the series. And I was in the mood for a little Arthurian literature, although I haven't got anywhere near Arthur yet. Anywho, I'm going to keep listening to this. It's okay, an okay listen. They say whoreson a lot. And I'm deciding on if I'm going to go on with the series on audiobook or if I'll pick it up and read it. I've got so much to read, I don't want to spend much time rereading right now in physical copy. Alrighty, next up, I don't want to make any commitments, but over the next year, one of the things I want to think about trying to do is reading more Booker Prize winners. This year, I did a Booker project where I read several books from the long list, and I really enjoyed that. So now I picked up the 2024 Booker Prize winner, which I had not picked up as part of their long list in my Booker project because they didn't have it when I was looking for it at the local Barnes & Noble. There are a lot of thoughts about Orbital by Samantha Harvey. I hope, and I don't think that every Booker book winner will be like this, nothing happens in here. And I complained about nothing happening in the Nora Roberts book, but she's supposed to be finding 7 rings and she's fucking around and not finding them. I kind of knew nothing was going to happen because how much could happen in a space station? Although, there was a part at the end where I thought, could they really surprise me? But they didn't. It's not that kind of book. It's not a thriller. It's, anyway. So 2 complaints that others said about this, about Orbital, is one, that people were big mad that there are Russians on the space station and she did not vilify them. They went as far as saying that she glorified them. I didn't see that. I didn't get that. People are just mad that there's Russians portrayed in this, and it's not like she's sitting in here talking about Vladimir Putin, how great she thinks he is. She doesn't do that. He's not even mentioned. It's just Russians on the space station. So, anywho, people are big mad about that. There's also a lot of listing. And one of the people that I follow on YouTube, Greg from over at Supposedly Fun, says he has a problem with listing. I think he said he'd read another of her books and she lists there too. So noted, I won't read any of hers. She lists a lot. Like, I mention it here, and then here I'm like, oh my god, a lot of fucking listing. Did I say listing or listening? Listing. So, I mean, there are some very lyrical parts in here. We think we're the wind, but we're just the leaf. And isn't it strange how everything we do in our capacity as humans only asserts us more as the animals we are? Aren't we so insecure a species that we're forever gazing at ourselves and trying to ascertain what makes us different? So I can appreciate the lyricism of the lyrics or the narrative. It was a little bit slow to read. It's like 207 pages on this copy, and it took me 4 days to read it. I almost swallowed ice cubes straight on YouTube. Anywho, so I gave this 3 stars. I'm sure that some people loved it. Obviously, the Booker judges loved it. If I were a Booker judge, I would have picked James, or I would have picked My Friends by Hisham Matar. I probably wouldn't have picked The Safekeep, even though it's one of my favorite books. But, this would not have been my pick. That said, we're all different. Okay. Alrighty. Let's see where I am. I've made some notes. So, talked about Gus and how much I hate him. I talked about Whoresons and how Sugar and Whoreson. Talked about Chloe Cates and the platitudes and the murder scene. It's a great murder scene. Talk about Orbital, how Nothing really happens. Now, let's talk about Netflix. So I have an on-again, off-again relationship with Netflix. I'm on again now. And partly it's because, I swear, like, Netflix will, the second I turn it off and unsubscribe, they'll be like, here's all these new shows. Don't you want to see them? And then I get back on and like, there's nothing I want to watch. I do want to watch Hot Frosty, so that's one of the reasons I got back onto it. But instead of watching Hot Frosty, when I got back on the Netflix, I ended up doing a rewatch of the season 1 of Virgin River because I want to watch that series. And Virgin River is a great TV series. And I read the first 5 books of the series, the book series by Robyn Carr. Books 1, 2, and 3, I have this written down somewhere. 1, 2, and 3 were like 4 stars. And then it got like 3 star, 3 star, and book 5 was a 1 star. So I'm like, that was a year ago. I put it down. I said, I'm not going back. But then I start rewatching the Virgin River series, and I'm like, okay, let me give it a shot. So I pick up book 6, Temptation Ridge. I'll tell you about this. At 25, after 5 years as her mother's caregiver, it's time for Shelby to experience freedom and adventure. Time for travel, college, and romance. But when she visits Virgin River, she's not her first visit, by the way, she runs into Luke Riordan, decidedly not whom she has in mind. A handsome Black Hawk pilot, Luke exited the Army after 20 years, 4 wars, and having been shot out of the sky 3 times. At 38, he's tough and jaded. His major was in one-night stands with a minor in commitment avoidance. Technically, these two are all wrong for one another. But sometimes what you want and what you need are 2 different things. 2 very good things. Now look, I'm going to be the first to admit, I need to stop reading any kind of romance where there is any association with the military. I am too close to it. And so when they start with these things about how hot and everything, I just start mocking it because I know they're all real people. And while people may do heroic things, it's not, at the end of the day, they're still human. And, gosh, I wish I was trying to give this the benefit of the doubt because I could have, something about tattoos. And I'm like, almost everybody I know has tattoos, so they're not really something that intrigues me or catches my eye as, woo, he's dangerous, he's got tattoos. Anywho, but I was trying to give Temptation Ridge the benefit of the doubt. Even though she was an Air Force wife, so even though, and once they were alone in the kitchen, he came up behind her at the sink and kissed her neck. You handled that whole interrogation beautifully. Classic recon. Evasion, resistance, escape. What are you, just throwing around every military term you've ever heard? None of that shit goes together. Evasion, resistance, escape is not classic recon. In fact, if you're doing recon, you probably should, you do want to evade. You don't want to get caught. So that's not classic. That's, you fucked up. Anywho, but again, I'm going to steer far away from military in my romances. But that is not what did it. That is not what made me put it down and say, I've had enough. I'm fucking done. Let me see if I can get to that part. What the hell? Okay, I'm going to find it here in a second. There it is. Oh, here it is. Oh my God. I'm going to read you the whole paragraph. And I'm going to try not to throw it up in my mouth as I do. Then she came in. The girl. Luke gulped. He felt a shimmer all the way to his knees. She wore her hair unbound, and I don't have a problem with this, okay? Love, it's a romance. You're going to want to feel something and show that. Okay, I'm fine with this. He had a mental, yada, yada, yada. He had a mental image of his large hands on her slim hips, blah, 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 blah. This is funny. She had a fresh face, except for something shiny on her lips. She appeared to wear no makeup, but she didn't need any. Bet she does have makeup on. Bet she fucking does. When she saw him, she lowered her lashes briefly, but smiled. Demure. Vulnerable and in need of a strong man. Oh, crap. Oh, crap is right. I cannot read any more of this crap. Vulnerable and in need of a strong man? Nope, I'm done. I'm so tired of reading that kind of crap. Like, and furthermore, Melinda, or whatever her real name is, was in the first couple books, a complex character. She'd come to Virgin River on the run because she'd lost it. Well, at least I don't remember the book as well as the TV series, so if I get them mixed up, that's whatever. It doesn't matter. She'd had a stillborn, at least in the movie, and in the book and the show, she had lost her husband. He had been killed. So she's got a mix of emotions. She falls in love. That's fine. Now she's some fucking bimbo who's complaining because she's had 2 babies and now she looks fat. And like, worse could happen. You know this, right? You've had a stillborn. Your husband's been shot and killed. So if you've gained 20 pounds, what's the big fucking deal? You've got 2 healthy kids and your husband is alive, and you're alive because you almost lost your life with that second kid, and you can't have no more kids. So she just goes on this whole rampage about low-fat foods and stuff like that. So I've decided to step away from romances for a while because I can't anymore with that kind of bullshit. It's so, I want to say misogynistic. It is. It's like woman on woman misogyny. Like, this is what we're supposed to be. This is what we accept. Anywho, not me. Speaking of whores and whore sons, my purse book is Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry, and this is a hoot. This book is so funny. I don't know if it's supposed to be, but I'm enjoying it. Just so many lines that I've, I haven't really underlined so many lines, but there are so many funny lines in here, so many funny parts. And I still have a long way to go. This is a purse book. I have until the end of December to finish it. I feel like I should be farther along, but whatever. I am not stressing that. I skipped over, so that's my purse book. What I'm reading now, I've got mixed feelings about. Although I'm enjoying the read. The read is good. I have mixed feelings about the story as a whole. So what I'm reading now is What Happened to Nina by Derva McTiernan. And I'm going to read to you what this is about. What happened to Nina? Nobody knows. Okay, let me back up. Nina and Simon are the perfect couple. Nina and Simon are the perfect couple. Young, fun, and deeply in love. Until they leave for a weekend at his family's cabin in Vermont, and only Simon comes home. What happened to Nina? Nobody knows. Simon's explanation about what happened in their last hours together doesn't add up. Nina's parents push the police for answers, and Simon's parents rush to protect him. They hire expensive lawyers and a PR firm that quickly ramps up a vicious, nothing is off limits media campaign. How far will his family go to keep him safe? Soon, facts are lost in a swirl of accusation and counter-accusation. Everyone chooses a side, and the story goes viral, fueled by armchair investigators and wild conspiracy theories, and illustrated with pretty pictures taken from Nina's social media accounts. Journalists descend on their small Vermont town, followed by a few obsessive fans. How far will her family go to get to the truth? Nina's family is under siege, but they never lose sight of the only thing that really matters, finding their daughter. Outgunned by Simon's wealthy, powerful family, Nina's parents recognize that if playing by the rules won't get them anywhere, it's time to break them. I've not read anything else by Derva McTiernan. She is the critically acclaimed author of 5 other novels, including The Murder Rule, which was a New York Times Thriller of the Year. So, I also am a kind of big on true crime as it happens-ish. And old true crime as well. So when something like this happens, to me, this is quite clearly a take on the Gabby Petito case. And so I was all over that when it was happening in the news. That's a whole different conversation about missing white woman syndrome, but that's not what we're here to talk about. So, unless something else happens in here, I feel like so far it's a little too on the nose. Like, I feel like I already know this. Like, so if something else is going to have to happen in here, I don't have the book with me. It's on my couch in there. I really need something else to happen. Otherwise, it's just like a case I already read in the news. You know what I mean? Anywho, that is it for my weekend books. Again, I've said some bad things. I'm done with romance for a while. Funny, I don't have these same problems when I read LGBTQ romance, but just when it's cis-het romance, there's all this fucking misogyny and issues. Anyway, I'm just taking a break from that. But overall, I think this has been a really good week. I think I'm getting back there to where I wanted to be, where I used to be. And I did have kind of a bum week where it was cold and all I did was sit and read. But I don't know what I'm going to read next after what happened to Nina. I think I need to just shake things up quite a bit. Anywho, I'd love to hear about your reading week. I apologize if this has kind of been all over the place. I'm kind of all over the place still. It is what it is. And by the way, non-alcoholic. So my babbling is just me. That is it for me. Again, thank you for coming with me on this journey. Happy reading.